5 in the morning. Me, Jake, Warb, and Greg are gearing up. We're about to head to the woods. I think we're going after these camp birds again today, so heard one fly up last night, but pretty much in the same spot as they did the night before. That's the plan.
Homemade egg muffins. Pretty easy. Crack an egg, scramble it, mix in some salsa, bake it in the oven. You got a delicious treat to start your morning. Voila. Compliments Mindy.
Knock knock at the camp. Do you have any words of encouragement for the kind folks watching at home?
Not that I can think of yet. Ask me in a couple hours.
Hey, that's a nice looking face net. Where'd you get that from?
Cabela's.
Are you having a good time?
Mm-hmm.
Oh!
Jake and I just slipped up this ridge. We were planning on getting to the top side of this real flat ridge up here. But a turkey started gobbling, actually two, not very far from the boat. You can hear him right there. He's probably only 80 yards or less up there. He's gobbling real good and we can hear him drumming. Hopefully he works his way down here this morning. Seems like he's facing us. There was another one gobble. Ted and Jake are probably half-mile from us across the way where we heard more turkeys gobbling yesterday. This turkey's finally gobbling here, right across the holler. We got a property line up here about 30 yards away though, so Greg and I can't quite get to the top of this hill. And I'm gonna drop off this little knob here and call, see if I can get him heading this way and then pull back off up to that tree. There's all kinds of turkey scratching in here. I think they'll be in here at some point regardless. We just have to be patient this morning. Almost an identical morning to yesterday, but yesterday they just blew it up. Today they're not gobbling very much. Just get up here on the hill and get set up where we can shoot that spot. I think he'll be on the side of this hill at some point. I'd rather him go down below us by accident than have to call him up to have a look. Been about an hour since we last heard that bird drumming over this ridge. I crawled up here to where I could see over and I don't see him at all, so we think that hen took him over the ridge. And a couple other birds gobbling around the lake, so me and Jake are probably just gonna run back to the boat and cruise around, see if we can get one to strike up here mid-morning. A little after 7 and we haven't heard anything since we sat out. And I'm nervous about calling in this spot, especially when these turkeys have gone silent, so I'm gonna go up there and call where all that scratching is about 30 yards away. That way if a silent bird hears the calling, they'll come to that spot and they won't come right up over top of this ridge and bust me and Greg. He definitely answered me twice, though. He wasn't particularly close, but we're down in a hole in here. I mean, it wouldn't take one very long to get in here. And he did answer me, so just sit quietly. Well, I gotta go back and get my gun. The amount of scratching on that ridge is just insane. There's turkey poop up there everywhere that's real fresh. And I know there was turkeys up and down this thing yesterday.
Yeah.
But nobody hunted this ridge yesterday. Nobody shot from here yesterday. I just would find it hard to believe that they, I mean, maybe they're not back here this morning, but
Yeah.
you would think we
Some
would
point
shoot
they
one
will
on
be.
this ridge.
Yeah.
There's more sign on this ridge than there is that one. And he answered me the one time. He probably ought to get set up. I don't know where I'm gonna get. We can try to drop back off that side. It's looking good.
Oh, yeah.
Me and Greg were just up on top of that ridge, found a pile of scratching, and I just did a bunch of walking and calling up there. And eventually got these two birds fired up. They're on across the holler. Not that far from us though, and the last few times I called they answered, so I'm assuming they're gonna be on this ridge at some point here in the next hour or so. It's a steep ridge. I mean, it's a booger to set up, because if you set on the middle of the ridge, there's very little cover. The birds can come up and spot you. So we've dropped off of this side so that we've got something to move, a ridge in between us and them, to move on them in case we need to. I'm afraid if we sit up there where we're calling in the center of that ridge, they're gonna pop up at 75 yards, strut and gobble. Get some cool footage, but we ain't gonna kill them. Right over top. They're right there. What I'll probably have to do is I'll probably get up there and then I'll have to call a little bit to get them to come up their head over. See him?
Yes, I'm on him.
We're on the right.
On him. Got them both.
Oh,
You down?
Get down, boy. Yeah. Yeah.
Fall over.
I got you. Oh. What? I knew as soon as I called they were gonna come right over that hill. Yeah! I saw the one on the left behind the tree, and then I saw you zoom to it, and then I heard, and I looked up and there was a fan. I was like, uh-oh, this ain't gonna last much longer. I could see the top half of his head. They were like 20 yards, and I was gonna let him keep coming, but I'm like, if they putt right now, it's over. Yeah. Like, they take one step and they're over the hill. Yes, 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 yes.
Oh man, just gobbling, drumming right over the top of the ridge.
Hey, but we've been sitting here, we haven't heard hardly anything all morning. And yesterday, like we were talking about earlier, yesterday there was turkeys everywhere in here. At about 8 o'clock, we decided to just ease up that ridge, calling. Got clear up to the top, right up at the property line. And a bird gobbled way back there. I mean, it sounded like that thing was 500 yards. And then a turkey gobbled again, and it was closer. It's like, well, that's interesting. So we called. That bird answered, and another bird answered. It's like, okay, there's two. It's a party. I don't know if anybody could see it, but when they were right there at 30 yards, right over the crest, what I'm thinking then, the last place that I've called, see, we called way up on the ridge about 40 yards away. And that's where they were answering us. And when we dropped off the ridge to set up, I didn't make another sound until they got right there at like 30 yards. But instead of going up there, they popped up on this flat spot in the ridge, and I know from where they were at, they could see where I was calling from. And that's why they stopped right there and started gobbling. So I was like, at that point, I figured we were gonna have to make a sound of some kind, either scratching or calling. So I turned my head like that and directed that sound down in the bottom behind me, just so that they would come looking. They might have anyway if you'd have just called straight at them, but I always like to appear like I'm moving away from a gobbling turkey with the call if possible. Old deer stand turkey, Greg. I'm sure his head took the top half of the pattern because I had to just skied shot off of the ground. I mean, all I could see was that much of it.
Well, we wanted footage of a turkey with that tree stand in the background. I guess we got it.
Hey, man.
Rope. Nice.
Patience killed that sucker, Greg.
Oh, yeah.
I wish Ted, hopefully he got one. I really want him to get a turkey. We were just right across there on that ridge yesterday, and they were just burning it up on this thing all morning long. But as they do so often, man, I mean, they just, day to day, you never know how well turkeys are gonna gobble. But that scratching, man, when we got up here and seen all that scratching on this ridge, that's undeniable. You know they're in here. You know that at some point in the day they're gonna be in here. He was standing right in here when I shot him. From right there, you can see he came up to right here and did that periscope looking. Probably 25 yards. Those things did perfect, but they come, that's what I was thinking about when they were standing here, because they were right back here. They come right up through there, and they were standing here looking at that last spot that I called. We had to just give them that. That wasn't so natural though. I mean, they would, a hen calling on that ridge right there probably happens all the time. They come up here where they can see everything from both ways and then start gobbling like that, and they hear her yow, yow, just off one side or the other. Just one little sound, and then yep. That's sweet.
I love pretty footage, but I also love the intensity of
that was pretty intense, them gobbling that close.
Poke their heads up.
Well, I'm sitting up in my THP office this morning, which is pretty cool. And I just heard a gunshot over there, which I believe is where Aaron and Greg went this morning. So hopefully we're gonna have some good news here in a little bit.
We had another bird gobbling in the distance after we killed this thing, so Greg and I just dropped off that big ridge to go back to camp so we wouldn't spook the turkey. It sounded like he was coming to that ridge as well. Ted might be able to get on him if they haven't had any luck. So we're headed back to camp now. Pretty pumped. I love Tennessee. If y'all want to learn more about hunting in Tennessee for deer, turkey, small game, whatever, click on the link down in the description below. I went ahead and I think I talked about this on a previous video, but I just purchased their all game annual license. It was just over $300 for a non-resident, and that gives me 4 turkeys in the spring, and I'm not sure how many deer in the fall, but a bunch. So pretty good value, just over 300 bucks to come down here and ideally shoot 4 turkeys in the spring and then come back and kill a few deer in the fall. So check it out.
Oh! Big old turkey in that.
Yeah. I mean, we had a fairly uneventful morning up to that point. We heard 1 turkey, and how many did we hear back here yesterday morning?
8.
Yeah, 7 or 8. And then pow, pow, both of them gobbled together on that ridge, and they were facing us, and they come a little bit closer. It's like, we probably ought to get set up. So we didn't make another sound. We just come down off the hill about 40 yards from where we were calling and set up in a big oak tree with a bunch of down limbs and stuff where we were pointed back up the hill. And then crow flew over, pow, pow, and they were 40 yards, except they weren't up here where I was calling, they were back here. So we had to flip around the tree and get on them. Yeah. And then I made 1 call on the mouth call, and they both just crawled all over it and then just walked right over the ridge.
I started throwing rocks all around and stuff. I was fired up.
Look what old cat daddy's got.
I hit the call again, and pow, he's right up on top. Then I just heard drumming until his head popped up, and that's about all I gave him was.
Well, good deal. We could
pick a bunch of mushrooms on the way back.
Hey man, that's a good day, huh?
What do you know, we got back to camp and old Cat got him a bird this morning. Nice one too. About to find out how nice.
46.5?
About a 46.5 incher, Cat. It's probably a 46 incher, I'd say.
I mean, the rules are kind of just a suggestion.
Yes.
Guidelines. Yeah, see the back feathers on Aaron's are kind of raised up there a little higher, gave him a little extra probably.
Yeah.
Yours are more relaxed.
46.5.
Are you? Man, I would have thought yours was longer just looking at it.
I got the
92.5 inches total.
92.5. Socially distanced.
Appropriate distancing.
Spring trifecta.
Cat's got
turkeys, morels, crappies,
smallmouth, catfish.
The real trifecta would be crappie, catfish, and carp is what I'm going for. And a bass would be a bonus. A big smallmouth would be nice too.
The guy shot a turkey, found 50 mushrooms, and now I think he's gonna catch some fish.
Gonna try.
You see him listen when that woodpecker went off?
Yeah, they've been gobbling at woodpeckers more than anything lately.